Hello everybody and good morning. Welcome to the Top Producer Show. So our mission is to educate, equip, and train servant leaders. Our vision is to create financially independent achievers, and our purpose is to help people grow. And right now we're going over the new book by John Maxwell, Change Your World by John Maxwell and Robert Hoskins? Is that Hoskins? Yes. So we are going over that, and we're going over chapter 1 today. But before we jump into that, we're going to go ahead and invite some people onto here. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know it's Super Bowl weekend. From what I heard, the football game really
was a blowout.
Was not that interesting. So
it was interesting if you were a Tom Brady fan,
okay,
or if you were a Tampa Bay fan.
Alrighty.
But it was a blowout.
Yep.
And of course it answered the question, was it Brady or was it the team?
Mm-hmm. So which one was it? Because I didn't even look.
Well, Tom Brady, everybody said for years that, Tom Brady, it was really the team. It was everybody around him that, got him there. Well, he moves to Tampa Bay and wins again. So now he's on a completely different team in a completely different environment with completely different people and still pulls it off.
Oh, wow.
But it's also maybe coincidental that they're in the hosting city and they move the number one guy to the hosting city and the hosting city's team wins. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you were a betting person, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty suspicious.
Yeah.
I have so many leads.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Alrighty, there we go.
Andrew Finder's here. What's up, sir?
Hello. Who else is here?
James Vance. What's going on?
Alright, so let me kind of pull up my notes here. Alright, so chapter 1. We can't wait for change. So Hope has 2 beautiful daughters, and their names are Anger and Courage. Anger at the way things are, but courage to see that they do not have to remain where they are. After the Super Bowl, even though the game was over, several more touchdowns were counted and scored by the Chiefs, making the score 33-31. Okay.
Yeah, it came in about 3 a.m. after they shut the stadium down.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back to the chapter. No more football. So what needs to change? So we have many reasons to believe why the world needs to change for the better. Families breaking down in the United States, were 9% of households in 1960 were led by single parents, and in 2014 that number grew to 26%. In 2014, about 2.5 million children experienced homelessness in the United States. Civic engagement and volunteerism, 2 characteristics that were once identified as America's strengths, have fallen drastically in the past 50 years. In 2015, 3.3 million people were victims of violent crimes in the United States, and an estimate by the Institute for Economics and Peace recently concluded that violence costs the global economy $13.6 trillion a year. Mental health issues are on the rise and getting worse. Corruption is a problem all across the globe, and it's established that 40 million people worldwide are victims of modern slavery. So there are problems I can use help people everywhere. I don't even know what the heck I typed there. This is what happens when you take notes really late at night. I don't even know what I said there. So, anywho, there's things that we recognize that there's problems all throughout the world that we recognize that we can change. But what do we do about? So somebody do something. So if change is possible, why aren't we doing more to change change the world? So Chinese philosopher, I would want to say that's Lao Tzu. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But he said, if we don't change the direction we're going, we're likely to end up where we're headed. So the reality is that most of us are waiting for somebody else to do something, and the problem about the problems that we see. We want change, but we hope somebody else will come along to do something about it. So we're waiting for the government, we're waiting for the healthcare system, we believe that education will do something, we look at the business to do something, we imagine media will do something, the arts, entertainment will do something, sports, religious illustrations, and so on. So you can't just wait around and hope for somebody else to take action. You have to be the one to take action, because you can change the world. And you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be famous, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what kind of background you have, and you don't need permission from anybody either. The only permission you need is the permission from yourself to go do something. So transformation is possible for anyone willing to learn and live to give good values, good people, and collaborate with others to create a positive values culture. So first, change your thinking. So he did this little puzzle in the book where it was like 9 dots. Let me see if I can pull it up. You guys probably recognize this before because he has done this in another book. So you can see these dots. I think you can see them. There you go. So what you want to do with these 9 dots, you want to find a way to connect all 9 dots below using the 4 straight lines without lifting your pencil or without lifting your pen or pencil from the paper. So most people have a hard time figuring out how to make that work. And why is that? Because most people think inside the box, but most people think inside the box, but the only way to solve the problem is to change your way of thinking and get outside themselves and outside their way of thinking. So I'm going to give the answer to that puzzle at the end of the show, but I want you to take a pen and paper and see if you can't figure it out for yourselves. Actually, this one took me a while. But also, based on my personality type, I do follow directions to a T, which sometimes is a fault of mine because then I have a really hard time thinking outside the box because I'm like, okay, this is the instructions, this is what I need to do. And it's funny because when Jeff does a lot of things, he does think a little bit more outside of the box because he's like, okay, well, we could try it multiple ways like this, and then that's where I struggle. So sometimes it's a personality thing too. But see if you can solve that puzzle, and then at the end of the show, I'm going to give the answer to it, but see if you guys can figure it out yourselves. So if you've solved it, also leave a comment in the comments to let me know that you solved it, and then we'll see how you did. So, if you think you can't change the world, it's your assumptions that are putting you inside the box. So, it's assumptions that make you restrict your thinking and also restrict our possibilities, but they also tell you how you could change. So, for things to change, we must change. And changing our world requires a similar shift in thinking. So you need to change your assumptions from assuming you can't to believing that you can. And no matter what, who you are and where you're from, you can bring change. It doesn't matter where you're at. So then harness your hope. Okay, so Jonathan Sacks in The Dignity The Dignity of Difference wrote, "One of the most important distinctions I have learned in the course of reflection on Jewish history is the difference between optimism and hope. Optimism is the belief that things will be better, and hope is the faith that together we can make things better." So optimism is a passive virtue. Hope is an active one. So it takes no courage to be an optimist, but it takes a great deal of courage to have hope. So this book is to help encourage you to become a person of hope and become someone who possesses a healthy amount of positive discontent. But the first thing you need to do is have hope for yourself. So psychologist Ellen J. Langer wrote about a story she conducted and showed the impact on belief. So we explore the mindset most of us have regarding the excellent vision of the Air Force pilot. Excellent vision Air Force pilots have. So all participants, sorry, I'm trying to read this, but it's a little small. I should have made my notes a little bit bigger. So all the participants were given a vision test, and one group of participants was encouraged to role play. So as Air Force pilots, so they dressed the part in the uniform, and they sat in the flight simulator, and they were asked to read the letters on the wing of a nearby plane, which were actually part of the eye chart. So these participants who adopted the pilot mindset primed to have excellent vision and showed improved vision over those who were simply asked to just read the eye chart from the same amount of distance. So putting yourself in that mindset is what's going to change what you're going to see. So do you want to adopt a change my world mindset? You have a much greater control over your ability to accomplish difficult things than you might believe, but you must have hope and believe in yourself first. And also, it's very hard to lead people unless you have that hope and that extreme desire to go do something, because people like to follow other people who know where they're going and have that energy where you feel like you want to follow them. So people can change, and people change when one or more things happen. People change when they hurt enough that they have to. People change when they see enough that they're inspired to. People change when they learn enough that they want to, and people change when they were received enough. So people change when they receive enough that they are able to. So Tony Evans said, "If you want a better world composed of better nations, inhabited by better states, filled with better counties, made up of better cities, I want to say, what the heck did I write here? Composed of better neighborhoods, illuminated by better churches, populated by better families, then it all have to start by becoming a better person yourself. Because you can say, we need to change this, we need to change that, but the first thing that needs to change is yourselves, because it all starts with that one individual who's going to make that change and then to go inspire everybody else. So have hope for others. The changes you make within yourself will give you the confidence and credibility and hope to help others. So you become what John calls the hope helper, and it requires you to be positive and focus on a positive change you create. Not the negative situation that you want to eliminate, but hope can move us towards something better and brings others with us. So the negatives in life may attract our attention and open our eyes to what needs the change, but only by positive and by helping to create and offer a better way of positive change in the world are we really going to make that difference. Creating positive a changing community is similar to developing people. So good leaders focus on the strengths of people and helping them develop those strengths. They don't focus on their weaknesses. Similarly, to help others live a better life, you don't focus on their problems. So focus on the positive solutions to provide a better way of doing things. So I'll actually hear this when I sit with certain family members. It's always a sitting and whining and complaining of like, oh, this is going on, or this is going on in our community, and everybody will bitch, whine, and complain all day about something, and then there's no ways to resolve it. But you want to resolve it in a positive manner. Like, what's a way to make it better or make things work more smoothly? And just coming up with those ideas and then just going and executing them. But doing it in a positive way, because anytime that you treat a negative situation with more negativity, you create even more negativity. When you take a negative situation and you bring a positive solution, you're going to create more positivity. And that's where you want to look at things. So hope for a better future, and hope fuels urgency. So when you harness a strong sense of hope, what should you do with it? Too often, if we believe we should do something, we don't. We put it off and we think to ourselves, oh, I can do it tomorrow. We might have a good idea of, oh, you know what, this doesn't really work that well. Maybe we should try doing it this way, or somebody should come up with a way to fix it so it works like this. And we put it off to tomorrow, or we put it off onto somebody else. And the problem is if you have the idea, you should be the one to figure out a way to execute it and come up with a plan to follow through with the idea. So how do you fix that? Urgency. The sense of urgency is what makes people go into action. So there are some observations about how urgency works and what it does to us. So urgency starts from within. Business consultant Rob, I have no idea how to pronounce that. What is up with all the last names I can't pronounce today? All good. So anywho, he observed, have you noticed that the people who make things happen in this world value and share a similar sense of urgency? Regardless of what people aim to achieve, whether in sports, business, or otherwise, those who set themselves apart from the rest maintain a sense of urgency in order to be the best that they can be. So they choose not to disconnect from what they are aiming to achieve, and they pursue it regardless of what anybody else thinks and says, because their sense of urgency is an integral part of who they are. So once somebody figures out what they want to go do, it's very hard to get them off of that path when they have that sense of urgency. It's almost like that intense desire that people end up creating. And you'll notice this with a lot of people, sports people, business. Grant Cardone is this way. When he started figuring out where he wanted to go, he created this sense of urgency to get on the path to become a very successful business person, and he never stopped. And that's the difference between somebody who is focused on a goal and somebody who is not. But you'll also, he mentions this in his book 10X, he's like, you'll get a lot of people who tell you, dude, you're crazy. Like, are you okay? Like, this is just pure obsession. Like, what is going on? Like, you need to calm down. You need to take a day off. You need to take a break. But when you start hearing those things, you know you're on the right track, because that's when things start to you really start to get momentum and things start to work. And it's also when you start to attract more people. You'll get rid of the people who are not ready for something like that will leave on their own. You don't have to convince them. But everybody else who sees the same thing will start to jump on board with you. So Ralph Marston, author of The Daily Motivator, said, success requires both urgency and patience. So be urgent about making the effort, but be patient about seeing the results, because a lot of times it does not happen right away. So urgency feeds desire. So you harness your hope and tap into the sense of urgency for change. It only increases your desire to see the change come about. So you can call it a kind of positive, healthy discontent. But without that urgency, you lose momentum in the energy. So Jim Rohn said, without a sense of urgency, desire loses its value. Now, urgency also inspires courage. So leadership is influence and nothing more, nothing less. If you influence just one other person, you are a leader. So when you add courage to your leadership, then you create opportunities to change, which in turn changes the culture around you. So urgency calls for action. So Malcolm Gladwell said that the presentation in his book, in a presentation on his book, David and Goliath, the most successful entrepreneurs not only have courage and imagination, they also have a sense of urgency, that they're not willing to wait, and they have a burning desire to get something done. So the feeling of urgency moves you into action. So basically, with this book, it's creating this sense of urgency, moving yourself into action, and then doing it in a positive way that's going to inspire others. Because you want to create a positive culture to create the change. And anytime you bring anger or violence into the mix, you're also not going to really fix the problem, because anytime you'll see this even with the riots too that happened recently. Anytime you bring, now I know there was peaceful protesters and I know that there was a different group. We're not going to get into a debate about that today, but anytime you treat something with violence, there's always that one or two people who takes it way too far, and then you're not actually working towards fixing the problem that you were originally trying to fix in the first place. So doing things in a positive manner also keeps you in better control of what's going on and keeping everybody else on track of what is the purpose of us being here today. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to achieve? Oh, I was just looking at what you were doing. So that is what I had for this chapter. And I'm going to give you guys the answer to that puzzle. Did anybody solve it? I know most of you guys are at work right now, so. Well, if you have been working on it, here is the answer to the puzzle. So you actually had to go outside the puzzle. So right here they have a bunch of different dots, so the puzzle's actually on the inside. I actually had to look at that for a moment because I looked at it and I'm like, wait a second, we're missing some dots. Like, what is going on here? And then I saw what they did. So that is what I have. And Jeff, what was your takeaway from this chapter?
I mean, the main thing is it all starts with you. If you want to make a change, if you want to do something, you know, you have to step up to the plate and do it. I think he covered all the excuses really well of why people don't change. And a lot of the good reasons why you do. But of course, people's belief is, well, it's just, you know, it's just me. It's just a small group. There's not enough, you know, I don't have enough time. You know, I don't have enough influence. I don't have enough education, you know, all the things you mentioned. So it was just, I mean, start out very good on the, you know, opening the door to this. Obviously, he's written a lot about this in other books, but not specifically about this. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the rest.
All right, cool. So if you guys haven't yet, you want to go to the Top Producer Show Facebook group, and you want to go join that group. And you also want to go follow us on YouTube. Each one of these videos is going to be uploaded to there, so that way if you would like to go back and rewatch this, you are more than welcome to. So with that, that is what we have for you guys today. And tomorrow we are going to go on to Chapter 2.